So welcome everyone to WeREndurance webinar series. It gives me great pleasure today to welcome Bailey Carson, who is the COO of Myostorm, which is a company we've been actually working with for about 3 years now. I love this product. You'll see a lot of my reels where I'm using it, and oh, I thought I had it in front of me, but I don't. But I'm sure Bailey has a version of it that he could share with us. And so Bailey is going to talk to us today about recovery, how to do it properly. Oh, Bailey, we just saw somebody running past your window.
Yeah, we've got a gym on the other side of the office, and somebody's been renting it out. So they've got their clients doing a workout right now.
Very cool. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Bailey, and Bailey's going to teach us how to recover properly.
Sounds great. Thank you, Hillary. So quick little bit about me. So I did my undergraduate in exercise science and then started working at Myostorm about 3 years ago. So that's kind of my passion is health, fitness, and especially the science behind it. I love to nerd out about it. So most of my presentation today is about the science and what's going on. So recovery in general, and then of course dialing in on how the meteor brings different aspects of recovery and how that's important. So for those of you who have not used one or seen one yet, I'll just show you guys real quick. So this is the meteor. We've got vibration. It's going to be a little bit loud, so I'll just go through, and heat on this awesome recovery device. So let me just figure out how to share my screen, and we will.
Let me just hold on a minute. Let me just give you access. Here you go.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Let's make sure we're doing this right. Got so many tabs open. Okay. All right, recovery. Okay, just kidding, but I had to throw that in there. So the type of recovery that I'm talking about today is recovery from physical activity, which all of you guys are very familiar with as you're training for your endurance events. The first question that I pose, though, is what is recovery? A lot of people think that it's kind of the same thing as rest, but really to sum it up, recovery is the process by which our body repairs itself. So whether that be to baseline or to be stronger than we were before. Oh, it's got me cycling through. There we go. So just like I said, recovery is the process by which our body repairs itself either back to baseline or stronger than it was before the strenuous activity. And is recovery the same as rest? It can be, but recovery encompasses so much more than just rest. So there are two main types of recovery. We have passive recovery and we have our active recovery. So passive recovery, the number one of those obviously is sleep. Sleep is super important. We want to be making sure that we're getting regular sleep. Hot and cold ice baths, those fall under passive. Massage is kind of an interesting one that can be both. Vibration and percussion are generally under passive recovery. Nutrition, and then just lounging about and resting are all passive. And then there's active recovery, because recovery can be more than just resting and sitting around. We have things such as light exercises. So if you're running a lot, then a light jog, very, very light jog can be active recovery. If you do weightlifting, then very, very light weightlifting can be active recovery. Stretching, including yoga, is also a great form of active recovery. Those dynamic type warm-ups you would generally do before a workout, jumping jacks, high knees, butt kickers, all of those can also be fantastic active recovery exercises. Massage, and then rolling out. So little quick dive into some fun science. Why do we need recovery? So there are so many different things that happen when we exercise. So I've just listed a few here over on the left. So we've got nervous system exhaustion. So we have our peripheral nervous system and our central nervous system. And when we work out, our nerves actually get tired. So if your central nervous system can get tired just from a lot of volume. So if you're running a lot or lifting a lot of heavy weight, or just doing really, really high intensity, you might not always feel super sore, but your nervous system can actually wear out quite a bit, and then you need to rest from that. And then the peripheral nervous system is more in the localized areas. And so that would be if you're doing a lot of lower body, a lot of running or a lot of cycling, then your legs might get tired by themselves. And that can be an example of the peripheral nervous system wearing out. We have micro tears, which are a pretty common thing that can happen when our muscles are contracting. Like I've got shown over here on this image, that constant contraction, especially under stress, can cause little tiny micro tears to occur. Hopefully we're not injuring ourselves when we do this and those tears remain small. And then there are byproducts of the chemical reactions. So anytime we're working out, we're exercising, we have constant chemical reactions that are going on in our body. We have ATP being made, being broken down. We have glycogen and glucose in our blood and in our muscles that's being used. And we also have muscle cells being increased in size and also used and strained. And so as a result of all of this, we have rupturing and breaking of cells, including what's called the SR, or the sarcoplasmic reticulum, ions, negatively charged generally, and then lactic acid, all which can cause the next one, DOMS, and a lot of soreness. So generally, if we have DOMS, that's 24 to 72 hours after our activity, we're going to be the most sore that we will be. And that's generally attributed to a lot of those negatively charged particles that come as a result of working out. And I threw in the SAID principle down at the bottom there. And what SAID stands for is specific application to implied demands. And that's just a fancy way of saying that if you do a specific type of exercise, you're going to get stronger in that specific way. So squatting isn't going to necessarily make you faster, but running fast or running for long periods of time is going to help you in those situations. So even if you're in fantastic shape and you exercise all the time, anytime you bring in a new exercise or an exercise you haven't done for a very long time, you can experience that DOMS quite significantly. So if you're in your training period and you're running and you're getting high mileage, but you haven't been focusing on swimming for a while, when you jump back into the water and you start swimming after several months, you're possibly going to feel those muscles working again. You're going to be even more sore than before, which is why recovery can be so important for all of these reasons. So recovering with the Meteor, the reason that we love the Meteor is it combines active and passive recovery techniques into a really versatile and easy to use modality. So the Meteor can be used passively as a handheld massager while we also incorporate that heat, or it can also be used in our active recovery by rolling out and applying pressure to muscles that are in need of that recovery, while also coupling that with the vibration and the heat. So here I've got a couple fun little graphics. So this one up on the top right is actually an actual measurement that we did with the Meteor. So this was from just the vibration on the Meteor, and you can see the increase in blood flow from the left to the right. And I want to say this was only a couple minute application of using the Meteor. And it's very significant, especially within those calf muscle areas. So that's one of the fantastic things. I kind of skipped ahead to the second point there, but vibration helps to improve blood flow. And blood flow is important in recovery because it brings healing nutrients. Blood is the process by which our body transports really everything that's important and gets things to happen. So it brings those healing nutrients, whether it's more oxygen, whether it's more sugar, whether it's white or red blood cells for healing. It brings those things into the area, and then it also flushes out the negative ions. It's basically you're just getting a better cycle, because when you're sore, when you have these chemicals break down in your body, you've already used all of the good blood that's right there. And so as we increase blood flow, we're able to get more and more of these natural healing chemicals and cells into our damaged area. And the top point there is that it decreases pain signals. So there's this really cool thing called gate control theory. And that is basically that we have all of these different neurons in every part of our body that are sensing different things. And specifically, we have pain, which we feel a lot. Especially in working out, you'll feel those pain signals. And if you've ever tried to work out again on a sore muscle, or if you've touched a sore and tender muscle, especially legs, that you'll feel that pain. But what's really cool is that the vibration actually stimulates so many of the neurons over a broad area that those nerve signals, as they're being sent back to the brain, will cancel out and dull down the pain signals that your body is receiving. And so this actually helps your muscles to relax, and it reduces muscle guarding so that you can recover better and warm up those muscles more effectively. And the third point that vibration does is that it stimulates mechanoreceptors. And mechanoreceptors are, again, a fancy word for mechanical nerves, so nerves that are assistive in motion. And so it's actually a mild form of exercise. That vibration that's going through your muscles actually react to that and have mild contractions. And so again, it just helps to stimulate and wake up your nerves. And so, you know, that feeling when you start to work out or warm up right at the beginning of the day and you don't feel quite in control of all your limbs and you feel a little bit unstable, that's actually because your nerves haven't connected to your muscles quite yet. And so vibration can be a really awesome way to activate and kind of wake up your muscles as you get going. And this bar across the bottom, I've got the video in my way, so I can't actually see it. Let me see if, there we go. So this bar across the bottom just shows that we, with the Meteor, we looked for this therapeutic range because there's all sorts of different types of vibration. So not all vibration does all of these things. If the frequency is too low or the amplitude is too low, then you don't really get anything. So if you go grab a cheap roller, vibrating roller off of the shelf at Walmart, you're probably not going to see much of any increase in blood flow or really any gate control happening. And then if the vibration's too heavy, like if you're thinking like a power drill or any other type of machinery, that vibration, the frequency can be so high, and especially if the amplitude is high, that your muscle will actually start contracting in resistance to it, which can cause pain in and of itself and can really, really fatigue and injure your muscle in that way. So with the Meteor, we spent a lot of time researching this range to figure out what is the range that's ideal for vibration therapy, what's going to be therapeutic and actually effective. So the Meteor has 4 vibration levels that are all right around this area. The lowest one's at 55. We do have one level that goes up to 105 just because people really like how that feels. But the most therapeutic levels are those first 3, the 55, the 75, and the 90. And then this image right here is actually in relation to vibration and heat, though it's showing vibration. And this is just an image of when you have these pain signals that the amplitude is representative of the intensity. When the vibration comes in, it can actually reduce the amount of pain that's felt by the brain. So that dives us right into heat, which is honestly very similar. A lot of the positive benefits that heat and vibration have are much the same, which is part of the reason that we decided to put them together. So heat also increases blood flow, and it decreases pain, just like vibration, and it speeds healing. So I'm going to go on a little soapbox here on ice and cold, because for so long that's been the standard. People say, oh, you have an injury or you have soreness, ice, 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 and they have the Rice method, whether you know it as rest, ice, compression, elevate, or I heard it as rest, immobilize, cold, elevate. But the interesting thing is the ice actually slows healing because it slows down inflammation. And so ice and cold, you really only want to use them if you have a true injury. If you strain something, if you sprain something, if something's actually injured, then you can go ahead and ice that. And ice is effective for the first 24 to 48 hours. But after that, you want to start heating. Even injuries, after the first 2 to 3 days, you want to use heat. Because again, going back to how the heat and the vibration increase the blood flow, heat has been shown to have the same pain decreasing effects as ice, but with a quicker recovery time. And the reason is that it stimulates, or rather simulates, mild inflammation. So anytime you've ever been sick, if you've had a fever, if you've had like flushing in your cheeks, that's actually our body's way of sending red and white blood cells to heal. And so the heat actually simulates that mild inflammation in our body, which tells our body to send the blood flow, send the antibodies, which results in a healing response. And so having that light heat that we get from the Meteor and from other things is actually fantastic for promoting the body's natural recovery. And then of course it just feels good. Everybody loves to have the hot, a hot pad, the Meteor, especially if you're training out in the cold weather. It's just a fantastic way to recover and to wind down. Let's see, there we go. And then pressure. So this is one that we don't talk about as much, especially with the Meteor, because the vibration and the heat are so obvious. But the pressure of especially rolling out with the Meteor is very similar to what's going on in massage. So I assume most of you have had a massage at some point. If you haven't, I highly recommend getting a massage. But what's going on is generally the masseuse will, after they lightly warm up the surface of your tissue, they'll have these long, deep strokes. And that's because there are certain nerves in your body that react to quick motion. So when you go into the doctor's office and they do their they tap the front of your knee with their hammer, they're activating what's called the stretch reflex. And that is, you have nerves all over your body, but especially there in joints, that react to quick motions. And as soon as it feels something stretch, the muscle or the tendon, it reacts by automatically contracting and shortening. And that happens before any signal's even sent to your brain. It actually goes straight to the spinal column and right back. But long, slow pressure can actually overcome this. So immediately when a masseuse, or if you yourself with your own hand or with a roller or with the Meteor start to apply slow pressure, at first the muscles will contract in response to that. But if you wait about 10, 15 seconds and just keep that long, slow pressure, then your those nerves specifically will shut off and allow the muscle to relax and go longer. And so when a masseuse is doing that, they're actually getting your muscles to go longer than they were and relax. And you can do that with the Meteor as well. So when we roll out with the Meteor, we don't roll back and forth very quickly, but we find those areas, because if you find an area that you have soreness or tight muscle on and you sit on it, a combination of the vibration with the pressure will first dampen those pain signals, and then second, stretch that muscle out as long as you stay on it for an extended period of time. And then these can also be used in conjunction with stretching. So oftentimes masseuses will have you move your arm or your leg as they massage through to get an even deeper and longer stretch. And the same thing can be done with the Meteor. If you're rolling out a calf muscle or a hamstring muscle, you can tip your foot up into dorsiflexion, where you bring your toe away from the ground and stretch that calf muscle out while you apply the pressure and the vibration from the Meteor. And this pressure that we can use on ourselves and with other tools can help promote our mobility and our flexibility, and our active mobility and flexibility, so that we can overcome injuries and we're just more bouncy and fresh when we're working out. Oops, there we go. And then here I wanted to go through and show some of the common ways. So over here on the left, I have some of the passive ways generally that you can use the Meteor, and then some of the more active ways that the Meteor can be used. So obvious areas are the upper arm and the elbow, neck, shoulder, and feet. It's very, very simple and very easy to just apply the Meteor where you have pain or soreness. And then over here we have on the quadriceps and the hamstring, that would be these muscle areas, especially in endurance athletes like yourselves, are going to be very, very heavily used. And so regular rolling out here to avoid the shortening and the over tightening of these muscles can be super effective. We've got shoulders. So putting the Meteor up against a wall or a door frame would be super effective, again, especially if you're swimming with a lot of front crawl stroke. Glutes, IT band, and then calf as well is also going to be incredibly overused as endurance athletes. And then as far as recovery goes, it doesn't just have to be at one time or another. So here I've listed before, during, and after, just reasons why it would be good for you. So we kind of went over how the vibration can help to stimulate those mechanoreceptors and wake up your muscles. But it's great for warming up stiff areas. So I do a lot of weight training and cross training and CrossFit. And so whether it's before lifting or whether it's before an endurance workout like rowing or running, it's great for me to be able to use the Meteor to warm up the stiff areas that I have that bother me. Giving them extra attention before can help me prevent the injuries. If I know that my left shoulder or that my left knee or both some problem areas for me. If I warm them up. Oh, we good? Sorry. But if I go ahead and give some extra attention to those areas that I know are common problem areas for me, I can prevent the pain beforehand by warming it up and getting blood flow there before I start to put a lot of weight on it. And then during, even depending on what your workout is. So if you're working out indoors on a bike or a treadmill, it can be very easy to have the meteor on hand and in between sets. So if you're going to bike for an extended period of time, you can stop every several miles for 20-30 seconds and roll out those areas just to kind of keep it loose so that you don't tighten up. And then after is, of course, a great time. So all those things we talked about, the DOMs, the lactic acid, the negative charged ions that come as a result of those chemical processes of working out. If we roll out and we recover immediately after, or even the day after a training session, we can reduce the impact that soreness will have. And that can allow us to get back to working out and training even quicker and feeling much better than before. And just some common misconceptions that people have. A lot of people think that you have to be tearing your muscles and making micro tears in order to get stronger and faster or more powerful, but that's not actually true. While oftentimes we will have some of those micro tears, we can make improvements so long as we're pushing ourselves and we're being consistent. Again, recovery and resting being the same thing. They're not. Hopefully I covered that sufficiently for you guys. And a lot of people think that all you have to do is just take a rest day once a week and you're going to be good. But really, recovery is a regular thing. Every single day, if you can, you should be incorporating some recovery into your workout. Even if that's you have an hour for training, it would be better to work out for 40 minutes and recover for 20, whether that's a 10-minute warm up and a 10-minute recovery cool down session after. You're going to be a lot better off for it in the long run. And also that recovery is always relaxing. While it's often relaxing, anyone that's rolled out for a sufficient period of time or gotten a deep tissue massage knows that sometimes recovery is pretty hard work and it can be pretty intense on the muscles. That is everything I've got there. Hopefully I didn't go through that too quickly for you guys, but I wanted to leave enough time because I know I threw a lot of information at you guys, but I wanted to make sure there was enough time there for questions, and I can go back to areas on the video or just answer questions as is.
I have a question. What's the biggest difference, other than the heat, what's the biggest difference between the Theragun products, vibrating products, and your products?
Yeah, so obviously the heat's a big differentiator. And then directly between their rollers, which would be the best comparison, they have their round roller and their peanut, and then their foam roller. The biggest difference is going to be the type of vibration. So early on, I showed that little infographic we had on the amplitude and the frequencies. And if you use any product side by side, you'll be able to feel the difference. But the amplitudes and the frequencies that we chose are within that therapeutic range, and all the other products out there aren't always necessarily within that range. So I actually haven't used the Theragun rollers just because those ones are actually a very new product for them. They acquired another company and pulled that in. But the Hypersphere, Hyperice has had their Hypersphere for years, and that's one that I've used, and that's a lot more jarring. It shakes a lot more, so their amplitude is actually really high. And the exterior of their roller is actually really uncomfortable. It's a hard plastic and it has grooves that go in and out. So it's not a very comfortable rolling experience. Where ours is a silicone exterior, it's antimicrobial, and then it's a smooth uniform, or not smooth, but it's a uniform surface.
Okay, well, I'm sold. Where's the 50% discount coupon? And
We actually do have a discount for the team.
Yeah, Hillary's got that.
I've got that, so I'll get that to you.
Okay. Bailey,
I have both, and I find that I think I like the Myostorm, but it's it's better, like it's more portable to bring when I'm traveling, and I just find it a little bit just more dynamic to use. So there's your sales pitch.
Bailey, I had two questions. One, when you say immediately after a workout, is there a specific time frame, that you would recommend? And the second question is, are there any peer-reviewed studies comparing Myostorm to other recovery techniques such as, massage or, Theragun, whatever, saying, what are the, the benefits, comparative benefits of each?
Yeah, so first one, as far as timing, immediately after and by immediately, I literally mean like as soon as you finish your workout, you can go ahead and start recovering. Like you can't do it too soon, but also if it takes you 5-10 minutes to kind of sit down and catch your breath before you start your recovery, that's fine too. And even as far as up to a day or two after. Often I'll get to the next day or the day after, and once I feel that soreness, I'll realize I'm like, oh, I probably should have rolled out right after. One of the main reasons immediately after is really nice is because of lactic acid. So lactic acid really only lasts for a handful of hours, where the previous conception was that people thought that lactic acid was what made us sore for several days after, where now we're finding that it's actually the ruptures in the cells and the negatively charged ions that are kind of sitting in that area and causing inflammation. But lactic acid can be moved out quicker in the first hour or two by using stretching, vibration, massage. So really right after can help with some of the negative ions and just getting that blood flow. It's just going to help you recover faster. It's your natural healing processes. And as far as the peer-reviewed studies, we're working on that actually. We have a professor in Canada. I'm trying to remember his name. I want to say it's BAME. But he, you can find him because he did a TED Talk all about stretching. So I cannot remember his exact name right now, but he's doing, I want to say 3 studies for us right now, comparing the Meteor to other modalities. And so they're kind of in the brunt of that. So hopefully once they finish those studies, we'll have some proper peer reviewed. But until then, we just kind of have some case study stuff that we've done. I showed you guys that graphic of the increased blood flow. We have some more things on our website under the science tab, where we've put studies relating to other things that have been tested that we've tried to replicate. So whether it's the vibration levels, whether it's the heat, and then we also have one video on there from Dr. Phelan, who's a professor at Brigham Young University, and he used an ultrasound to measure the difference in muscle stiffness from before and after the use of the Meteor on a calf muscle. So we've tried to get as much science and stuff as we can, but obviously that peer-reviewed study takes a much longer time than just being able to walk into a lab and get a few numbers.
Sure. Okay, thank you. And Bill, is your background a subliminal suggestion on your preferred recovery method?
Absolutely. Egg roll after a workout is the best in the world, especially when
Yeah, a different kind of rolling out.
Yeah. Dairy Queen is better, but I'll take an egg roll.
Any other questions? Now, can you tell us a little bit, talk to us, Bailey, a little bit about, you have 2 products, right? Well, you have a bunch of new products coming out. Can you talk to us a little bit about the different sizes that you have in terms of the Meteor, like which one's better? And also talk a little bit about the new products.
Yeah, I actually might have a mini one just so I can show you the side by side. One second. There we go, I found one. I stole it from Jono's desk. Okay, so we have the mini is still on pre-sale. We only have a couple prototypes and all that they've given us, but side by side, you can kind of tell the difference here. But this is basically the size of a softball, and then this is about the size of a baseball. So for one of the reasons we decided to go with a miniature version is just one, we had so many people asking us for a miniature version. Everybody said, oh, I want a small one. I want a small one. We're like, well, we want a small one too. And Jono said that he actually, if the science would have been available, he would have made the Meteor as small as we could make it at the time. But as motors and batteries and everything have gotten better, we've gone for an even smaller portable version. But we have seen some of the pros and cons of the different sizes. So obviously the smaller one, the battery power is not quite as much as the big one. We can't fit as many batteries in here. So this one's going to last longer. but it's also more intense to roll out on this. Just because it has a smaller surface area, if you're putting your body weight on this, it's a little bit more painful. So if you're using this one, you're digging a lot deeper into some of those muscle knots, or like bottom of the feet, because if you want to get deeper into the bottom of the foot, this one's actually really great. And then I really like this one for between the spine and the shoulder blade. While the Meteor is great, this one is able to like more finely get into some of those areas. So those are just a couple of the things, right? It's like this one, I can get more surface area. I might be more inclined to use this one on my hamstrings, back of the knee, quadriceps. Whereas this one, I can really pinpoint like the knots and the problems that I have. And then also it's just more portable. It's smaller, so it's easier to fit into a bag. But this is already much more portable than most products that you have out there. The BYU sports teams, while they have thousands and thousands of dollars of recovery equipment in their training room, when they travel, when they go out to, when they're cross country and their track teams go out to conference, this is what they bring with them. And then, so those are the two products we have. And then we have several accessories that we're coming out with as well. We have the massage and stretch strap, which is basically two stretch straps with a pouch that you can fit either the Meteor or the Mini, pop it in, and then it makes it a lot easier to reach areas on your back that you couldn't normally reach on your own. So that's fantastic for that. We have the roller that's actually a dual piece roller that can also fit both of them. So if you want to transform your small Meteor or Meteor Mini that's good for pinpointing muscles into a larger area and warm up like your entire back or your legs a lot quicker, where you're able to pop that in, lock it, and then it'll vibrate the entire roller. And then the third accessory we have is our mat. It's great to have a surface that you can actually roll out on. It helps preserve the vibration because it's made of EVA foam instead of just being like a typical, it's not just a regular yoga mat. And then it also helps those of our customers that live in apartments or on dual floors that don't want to be shaking the entire house below them. So we've just got those two main products right now with some more in the pipeline that fingers crossed we can get out by the end of this year, next year. But those accessories are just to kind of help improve your experience of using the Meteor.
The other thing I wanted to mention, a lot of people complain about plantar fasciitis, and when I run, sometimes I feel it in the back of my heel. And when I do use the Meteor, I do find it ridiculous. Like it improves it right away. Can you talk about why? I mean, there's so many people who have this and they don't know what to do. They can't walk, whatever.
Right. And so it's funny you say that. So besides neck and back pain, plantar fasciitis is the next like most common thing that people use the Meteor for. We actually work with several podiatrists that just swear by it now. They love it. They're ordering it in their clinic to use, and then they're reselling it to their patients. But yeah, the plantar fascia is an interesting thing because basically you have your foot that has a little bit of most people have an arch or a little bit of a curve, and then the plantar fascia actually comes from the toes and connects across the bottom, and it works as basically like a little spring or a little spring or a little coil, but it actually goes up further as well. So it doesn't just stop here at the heel; it actually comes up the back of the leg. So a couple things. While that tightness and that pain might be in the bottom of the foot, the tightness can also be referred from the back of the leg. So rolling out the calf muscle and the Achilles tendon right there are also really important to stretching that out. I know there are a lot of tools and products out there to try and help with plantar fasciitis, and everyone's is caused slightly differently. And for some things work, for some other things work. But the reason the Meteor is so helpful, again, is that if you can get more blood flow into that area and kind of stretch it out, then it's not going to be painful when you're running. Because if it's all tight and it doesn't want to pull and doesn't want to have that stretch reflex, then when you're running, you're going to be forcing it into that. But if you can get a little bit more flexibility, whether it's to the plantar fascia itself or whether it's to the surrounding muscles and the tissue in the calf, then you can loosen up and you can have kind of less tearing and less creaking while you're moving through. So yeah, whether that's rolling out the bottom of your foot with the Meteor rolling out the bottom of your foot and your calf. Some people do need to look at getting better shoes or orthotics and stretching more, but the Meteor could really help with, again, the blood flow and healing it.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
So this is not shipping till June, the mini and the bundle I see on your website, the mini recovery bundle.
Yeah, so the mini, we've had more delays than I would like to admit with that. Just so many things have come up, and the most recent of which is the COVID outbreaks in China around that factory. So I did just have a call yesterday with the factory. They said that the mini is on track to be done. They've got it in 2 batches, May 1st and May 7th. They're going to complete the production of the mini. And the roller is going to be done on May 8th. So we're looking at kind of that first week of May, we will have everything done. And they're supposed to get back to us later this week on freight costs and time. So we are potentially looking at flying everything over, which is a lot more pricey than putting it on a boat. But if we can ship everything over by air freight, we could potentially get things by mid to late May, and then start shipping out a little bit before June, but it's probably going to be right there at the beginning of June. So yeah, it's been quite the adventure.
Sure. Okay, it looks good.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you so much, Bailey. This was so informative and really helpful. So I appreciate your time coming, to us today. I'm going to be sharing this to the rest of the group, and I also have the discount codes. I actually think I sent them out yesterday. If you look in your email, if not, I will resend them out to everybody. And everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You.